What's good, YouTube? This is Admin Umbra back for another OU battle with Rocket HQ. Yes, that is correct. This is an OU match. I actually had this match in Rocket Elite Canton, aka Canton Folk Heroes stream. He and I were dual streaming the other day, me on YouTube, him on Twitch, testing the dual stream technology Shade and I hope to use when we stream next. So if you're looking for VGC content, please check out his stream. He does a lot of VGC, but he does other stuff as well. So his link will be in the description. Please check him out. This team is what I kind of call my Gen 5 retro team. The premise of the team is it's designed to sweep with Exegil. Yes, that tiny little mole over there used to be Uber in Gen 5 because of perma weather. And people have really moved away from weather teams now that weather's been quote-unquote nerfed. But with 10 turns of sand, because my Tyranitar does have the smooth stone, that's 10 turns of Sandrush Exegil being allowed to just wreck shop. And it's still very, very capable of sweeping entire teams. So that's what the premise of this team is using those two and primarily Exegil to sweep. I'll talk about the rest of the members as we actually get into the battle. But I decided to post this battle just because my opponent had a very interesting team. Some things you normally don't see in OU, obviously the normal Rotom, the Excelgor, the Seismitoad, and to an extent even the Togetic. I assumed it was an Eviolite version, perhaps similar to Togekiss. But yeah, very interesting team on my opponent's side. My opponent's YouTube name is Tupoiu, long-time supporter on YouTube. So thank you, Tupoiu, for this battle. Let's go ahead and get into the battle. Alright, and so if you like this video, please leave a like down below. The likes really help support Rocket HQ, helps the channel grow. If you hit 30 likes within 24 hours of this video going public, you will get 2 videos today instead of your just normal 1 video a day. So if you want even more Rocket HQ content, get this to 30 likes within 24 hours. I believe in you, Rocket people. So right off the bat, my opponent leads with this Rotom, and I assume it must be Choice Scarf. I lead with my Greninja. It's usually my lead on this team. I go for Dark Pulse, knock it right out. But you'll notice no Life Orb recoil. That is because this is actually a Choice Scarf Greninja, which I'm really enjoying a lot, actually. Most people don't see it coming because Life Orb is so common, so much so that people sometimes even miss the lack of Life Orb recoil. But it's great for outspeeding other Scarfers. So now my opponent goes into Excelgor. I went into my Aegislash because I knew I could take anything this thing wanted to dish out. I do reveal the leftovers right there, so I am not weakness policy, but this is actually an Aegislash I picked up from my time in VGC. This is actually a very standard VGC Aegislash, except my speed spread is different. But I go for the sub. I carry sub instead of Shadow Sneak, and I'm a fully special Aegislash. So going for that sub gives me a free turn to see what's he going to go into, and now I'm free to hit this thing with a Flash Cannon, which is going to do absolutely massive damage to this Diggersby. Obviously, I couldn't go for Shadow Ball. I didn't want to have to predict. Because I saw he had the normal type, I was like, alright, let's just go for the safe sub, and then whatever comes in can get hit with whatever attack I want to go for. So here I do get my free Flash Cannon off. You'll see it does a very large chunk to Diggersby. At this point in time, I'm very much fearing that this is a Choice Banded Diggersby. I'm fearing it's banded or scarfed, the way he brought it in, and the fact he didn't go for Agility, for example. So now I do, in fact, go for King Shield, just to see, is he going to go for Agility? Is he scarfed? Is he banded? I'm not fearing an attack boosting move, so I'm very comfortable doing this. I also go for the King Shield just to get a free turn of lefties. Now, looking at his team, I want to save Aegislash, and I'm fearing this thing being banded, so I actually switch out into my Swampert, because I felt a lot better about Swampert taking a banded hit than I did Aegislash. Because Swampert would be much less important, especially because my opponent does have the Seismitoad. So my opponent actually switches out as well and goes into Heracross, which I nearly stand, but then I realized that this is probably a Mega Heracross, and fear of Bullet Seed causes me to immediately switch out into my Venusaur. Now, I don't know if my opponent predicted this or based on their moveset if they actually don't carry Bullet Seed. I just noticed that nickname, by the way. That's very cool. Makes me think of Animal Crossing. But my opponent actually does go for the Pin Missile, and unfortunately pulls the miss right there, which gives me a turn just to Mega Evolve to get my stats even higher. This is actually a very old Venusaur I've used for a very long time. It's a physically defensive stall-based Venusaur. It actually has very poor coverage. Its sole job is to stall out specific physical threats, Scizor being one of them. But it works very well in Heracross as well. I went for the safe Leech Seed just to get this thing seeded. That's going to be very key for my stall. I actually carry Sub, Leech Seed, Giga Drain, and Synthesis on this Mega Venusaur. So I don't even have the Poison Stab, but you notice I do have 2 Steel types for Fairies. So after seeing the damage that Pin Missile does, the Leech Seed is able to take me above half. So I'm very comfortable staying in. I do reveal I have the Synthesis as well. So here you're going to see I get almost back to full, I get completely back to full HP. He's going to hit me with another pin missile and then take even more leech seed damage. So my opponent is quickly realizing that he's not going to break through this Mega Venusaur. He's revealed he doesn't have a boosting move. He has 4 attacks. I've seen some sub variants, I've seen some bulk up variants, but based on the fact that he's not going for it, I have to believe he's neither. He's just 4 attacks. And you can see he's already taking a lot of damage. And my goal in here is not necessarily to completely stall this thing out, but if I can get this thing to a lower range of HP, because remember, Mega Heracross is very bulky, both defenses over 100. If I can get it a little weakened, then I'm pretty confident Excadrill or Greninja can kill this thing off. So I go for the safe synthesis, not wanting to lose my Mega Venusaur. My opponent brings in Togetic. I'm predicting an Air Slash or a T-Wave, so I do decide to go into my Swampert. This Swampert is max HP, max defense, and is actually running Assault Vest. My opponent really surprises me here and goes for a Nasty Plot. Now, I wanted to get cheeky because I actually do have Mirror Coat. So I wanted to go for Mirror Coat, which is a special based counter, and it would do double the damage he did to me with his special attack. But I thought he didn't see me as a threat, so I predicted him to go for a second Nasty Plot, which is why I went for the Ice Punch. At this point, I do in fact go for the Mirror Coat, because at +4, having seen the Ice Punch, I predicted him to want to actually hit me. But he makes a very, very awesome play, and actually Baton passes out. I did not see that coming at all. It totally took me off guard. And goes into Excelgor. So now, I don't like to repeat my switches, but I realize that this thing probably doesn't have HP Fire. It probably has nothing to hit my Aegislash with. So I do decide to stay in, and that still does a lot. Obviously, it's at +4. So even though it's resisted, it's still doing a large chunk, but thankfully I do get my leftovers. And here I'm able to go just for the free Flash Cannon. But what's very surprising is I don't take a Bug Buzz, I take a Giga Drain, which makes me think that this Excelgor is Specs. A Choice Specs offensive Excelgor, which is really, really cool. It's obviously very, very fast, and I think that's just something awesome. You don't see that every day. I was a little disappointed, though, by the damage it was doing. If it's Specs at +4, I would have liked to see it do more to an Aegislash, but that is a resisted hit non-staff, or excuse me, non-stab. So here, I'm disappointed that Flash Cannon doesn't kill. I go for the King Shield just to get an extra turn of lefties. I obviously do not have Shadow Sneak, and I just wanted to get as much HP as possible. Now, I could either stay in here and go for a Flash Cannon, or I could switch out to Mega Venusaur. I ended up deciding to stay in case my opponent wanted to switch out into anything. I would get a free Flash Cannon off on something. I'm not sure it was really worth it. Granted, I did have Excadrill and Greninja left, but I'm not sure I needed to basically fodder my Aegislash so early in the game. So I did get my second Flash Cannon off, and it obviously is enough to kill the Excelgor. So that's one of his fastest pokes down. I do obviously get my lefties, and now I'm prepared to see what comes in. And the obvious switch on my opponent's part is Diggersby. My opponent does in fact bring out the Diggersby again. Obviously, I have no reason not to go for the Save King Shield and get a little more health. I put myself back into defense form. Here I want to see, are they going to go for that agility? Are they going to try and set up? Or do I really, really think they're banded? I have nothing that's immune to Earthquake, but I wanted to scout to see what they would lock themselves into. So they do lock themselves into Earthquake. I don't really want to just fodder Aegislash because I will die from this range. So I decide to go ahead and go on out into Swampert, thinking Swampert is probably my best thing to take a choice banded Earthquake. And so it does obviously go for the Earthquake again, and this does a lot of damage. As soon as I saw the damage, I was sure this thing was banded. Like that, I'm max HP, max defense, and that does a very, very large chunk of damage. Although I think I also predicted it to be a resist, and if you look, it doesn't say not very effective. So that was normal damage, which should have cued me in that that thing is actually probably choice Scarf, not choice banded. I foolishly was under the assumption that I resisted the Earthquake, even though I did not. So here, I'm just spamming Ice Punches, hoping for either a crit or a freeze. I don't need this thing. I don't really need Swampert looking at the rest of his team. My goal is to take this thing down to a region of health when Swampert dies, that Greninja or Excadrill will be able to come in and pick up an easy KO. But he actually does reveal he does have Flamethrower, something I don't see that often on Togekiss. I especially didn't predict him to have it because he had Baton Pass. But he does go for the Flamethrower, obviously trying to get a burn. My opponent is running Serene Grace. So, I don't know where the Hacks gods were, if they were watching the World Cup or what, but I've never seen this little Hacks in a battle where it should be. Like, I'm spamming Ice Punch, hoping for freezes or crits, and my opponent is spamming Serene Grace Flamethrower, and neither one of us is getting any hacks. I'm not sure it was wise of me to stay in here, because if my opponent gets the burn, they'll be able to roost up to basically full health. I won't be able to do very much to them, and it will be basically a waste of my Swampert. But the reason I was staying in here was I felt very confident about the position I was in. I didn't want to switch in Excadrill or Greninja on an attack, and I didn't need Swampert, so I was very content just to sort of lose Swampert here if it meant keeping Togekiss at a level of health where it would be instantly killed by Excadrill. So I do continue to spam this Ice Punch, even though Swampert, it's a lot more of an Ice Slap, but I just can't. Look at those scrawny arms, I just can't wait. It's coming, buddy. Just hang in there. Just hang in there. But obviously Togekiss continues to spam Roost between my Ice Punches. I still have not gotten a single crit or a freeze, and my opponent has yet to get the burn, so I'm still doing decent damage. Here they do go for a burn again, and obviously a quad resist, it's doing no damage, and there's still no burn, no hacks at all. It's amazing. The one time you expect hacks, they're nowhere to be found. My opponent here actually does switch into the Heracross, and I was like, please freeze, please freeze, please. Please freeze this ginormous threat. Obviously, you see Mega Heracross eats that up. Very, very prominent defenses. I think they anticipated me to switch. They actually go for a Shadow Claw, which is amazing because at the range of health in my defenses, I actually eat that up and go for a Waterfall. And look how much that Stab Waterfall does. Massive, massive damage. I'm able to get a huge chunk off on that Heracross. And now it's at such a low range of HP. I'm very confident Greninja can come in with Ice Beam and finish this thing off. So I do go ahead and bring in my Greninja. Dr. Who is getting so much airtime right now. Like, I'm just using the crap out of Greninja. I actually really used to dislike Greninja a lot, but I'm really enjoying using it now. This Greninja actually doesn't carry Scald. On a Scarf Greninja, I think it's not that useful. I carry Extra Sensory, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, and U-Turn. U-Turn for lead utility. So I do go for this Ice Beam on the Diggersby. My opponent was very, very surprised because they actually were Choice Scarf all along, and they asked me how did I outspeed. That's why I won Choice Scarf Greninja. Choice Scarf Garchomp, obviously very common. There's a lot of Scarfers who are very, very problematic. And if my Sand's not up, I need something fast to take them out reliably. And I am loving Scarf Greninja in singles. I think even more than just Life Orb Greninja. So here I made kind of a foolish mistake, and I let myself take a Drain Punch, thinking Ice Beam would do a little bit more. I definitely want to rebreed this Greninja and breed one that is modest, since I'm using a Choice Scarf. But here I do go out the Mega Venusaur because I'm like, well, I managed to survive the hit from the Seismitoad. I might as well go in the Venusaur and just take this thing out really easy. I go for the sub just in case they want to do something ridiculous. At this point, they've only got 2 Mons left. The game is very much in my hand. I decided to go for a Giga Drain right here just to take this thing out. You'll see, notice that Power Up Punch is obviously very weak and resisted, but it's still the bulk of this thing. I've had Mega Scizors be unable to break this thing sub before, so it's pretty impressive how physically bulky it is. But good lord, Seismitoad, what are you? Like, is that a Sulfast? No, because we saw leftovers. Like, good lord, that's quad effective, and it ate that up. I was in disbelief it took that Giga Drain so well. I don't know what to do. That's amazing it survived that. Obviously, it cannot take the second one, though. Mega Venusaur is able to take this thing out. My opponent now only has a Togetic left. And it's really just a matter of switching out at this point. I do go for the Leech Seeder just because it's the last Mon left. And I didn't necessarily want to switch into a Flamethrower with Excadrill or Aegislash, but obviously things look very, very good for me. I've gotten the Leech Seed off just because they cannot switch. I don't anticipate them having Defog. And again, I've got most of my squad here, so it would simply be a matter of time before I actually took this Togetic down. But my opponent does actually decide to flee next turn, because that is their last poke, and I do obviously have many threats left that would take that Mon out. So a very interesting battle, Tupoiu. Thank you for the interesting team. Thank you for the battle. Note you're always welcome to submit your own content to Rocket HQ to do dual comms with the admins and the elites. It was a little disappointing I didn't get to show off the main focal point of this team being Tyranitar and Excadrill. Sandwich Excadrill does a lot of work. But I did get to show off Choice Scarf Greninja, who I'm also enjoying a lot. But this has been an OU battle with Admin Umbra. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. Again, if you want double the Rocket HQ content today, be sure you get this video to 30 likes in 24 hours. I believe in you, Rocket people. I have confidence you can do it. And as always, the buttons below this video contain links to everything Rocket HQ. Follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on Twitch. Follow us on Facebook, and also anything you want to know about Rocket HQ, if you click the Google Drive button, that's where all the info on the Rocketeer system is, how to rank up in Team Rocket. It's where the Gym Leader Challenge is, all the info on that. You can see the artwork for the gym leaders, and of course our prezzies, which do in-depth team building walkthrough analysis. So, thank you so much for watching. My name is Admin Umbra, signing off, and before I go, I just thought of this. Let's have a question of the day today, Rocket people. Today's question of the day is Greninja. No, it's not gonna be Greninja. I already did Greninja in the last video. Oh, I've got a good one. What is your favorite Gen 5 strategy that used to be very, very common? For example, just how Sandwars Exodal used to be uber and seen all the time. What is your favorite Gen 5 strategy that you used to see a lot, but is very rarely used in Gen 6? And what are some cool ways you think it could be used in Gen 6? If I see any awesome suggestions, you might see them in the next video. So thank you all so much for watching. My name is Admin Umbra, signing off.